panel room. And this session is dedicated to the ethics in artificial intelligence. I give the floor to the moderator, Irina Mikhailova, Dr. Irina Mikhailova, who is a head of learning and development at GEANT.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Am I? Yes. Thanks for the feedback from the audience. Thank you, Tatiana, for the introduction. It's great to continue, and it's my pleasure to continue the conversation of this conference and take it into the space of AI. Well, it's not a new space to this conference. We've just had a workshop, which I heard was a great success, and now we're taking the discussion into the plenary, trying to sort of enlarge the audience and discuss the topic of artificial intelligence. To begin the subject, just giving it a brief introduction, I think there are a lot of myth and there are a lot of truth in the topic of artificial intelligence, and particularly there are quite a few professional. Hello. Is this okay? Yeah. Is this better? Is this better? Yeah. Oh. Hello. Okay. We're using, I guess, some form of intelligence right now. So the proof is in the pudding. So there's a lot of general public knowledge around and on artificial intelligence, as well as professional knowledge, and there's a great deal of concern about what is happening and what artificial intelligence could enable. There are fears that there will be a rage, of machines, that they would take over our lives. So there's basically a basic human fear in relation to artificial intelligence and developments that are taking place. And great minds such Alan Turing and Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking have warned really that, maybe we're opening a serious Pandora's box and summoning the demon, as they often suggest. At the same time, there is also a great level of excitement, because humans can get rid of routinous tasks. We can delegate this to the machines, which could probably do it better, faster, and more accurate than us. So there is this oscillation between 2 points of view, good or bad. So in this panel, we're going to try to share some opinions, and we have 4 experts who do have several opinions on artificial intelligence, and equally, we have the audience, who is also very much knowledgeable and cares about the subject, that I hope would also join this discussion on the topic of artificial intelligence. So, before we begin the introductions of the panel, I would like to mention a few household duties. And that is that at some point panelists might be comfortable in their local languages. Therefore, the gizmos that are handed out at the door with translation would be quite helpful. So if you think that if you're not proficient in English and Armenian, I would suggest in English and Armenian, I suggest you grab the gizmo so in order to be able to join the discussion or to understand all the speakers and gather all of their opinions. And in terms of the panel, we'll ask a question, summon the opinions of the panel, and then ask the audience for their contributions and their points of view. So we hope to have the open conversation going. In terms of the panelists, in order to facilitate the time and discuss as many topics as possible, if I start fidgeting in my chair and raising the question, we need to wrap up the opinions in order to be able to discuss all the topics that we've identified. So, without further ado, I shall give a floor to every panel, every expert to introduce themselves, their name and where they come from. Please.
Okay, thank you. So I am the first. I already introduced in the previous unexpected panel, but I repeat, I am Edward Pogosyan, Doctor of Physics and Mathematics, and working in Institute for Problems of Informatics, Automation. And my direction is cognitive algorithms and models, a long period, actually from 1970s And we're proud that we understood that the core of artificial intelligence is a cognition, and we concentrated on that. Thank you.
Welcome.
My name is Michel Laidé. I'm the head of the Informatique Research Institute of Toulouse, in the south of France. I'm not at all an AI guy. I'm a high-performance computing guy, but Ek mentioned something about the convergence between high-performance computing, AI, and a few other things. So we are plenty in the middle. I also have a position in CNRS where I'm in charge of high-performance computing.
All right. All opinions are welcome.
And I should say last, my lab is one of the leading labs in artificial intelligence in France.
Right.
Hello everyone. My name is Alexey Velosirkovsky. Actually, I'm very honored to be here. And I'm sure that some of you, or probably most, know about AI more than me. So it's a great pleasure to be here. My primary field is space research. So I'm dealing with images. I'm also a national contact point for Space and Horizon 2020 program. And also do some stuff, some things in EaPEC Connect project. Well, I think it's okay at the moment. We'll proceed.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hello. My name is Agasi Pogosyan. I am PhD at math modeling. Currently, my scope is deep learning models, and I am working at IIP as scientific worker. Thank you.
So we have a variety of experts here coming from different walks of lives that that bring knowledge and expertise into this panel. So without further ado, let's start maybe with a challenging question, or with an area of concern, and perhaps even a fear to some extent that is often associated with AI. So where are the current concerns in the area of artificial intelligence, and what should we be worried about when we talk about artificial intelligence?
Who will start?
Please.
Well, not being a specialist of AI, we have an AI national initiative in France. And ethics is one of the main points.
Right.
And the reason is simple. We all notice that the crucial role of artificial intelligence in our life, and it's obvious that people are scared about some machines.
Could you give an example of what could it be?
Well,
perhaps?
in pattern recognition.
Right.
Identifying people, identifying behavior.
Right.
When you have a look to the social networks to identify some threats, which is very important for the governments because of terrorism, for example, in Europe. Autonomous vehicle. I can give one or two examples. For example, there was a very funny experiment in UK to train young policemen. And they wanted to design a system helping the young policeman to decide to control this guy instead of the other guy. So they started from the experience, they did some training on the data, the control data from the old policemen. So that they give indication to the young policeman saying, well, you should control that guy. Also there was some, not exactly face recognition, but the system was recognizing it's male, female. And the system went very well. They were pretty happy. Then finally they discovered it has the same problems as with old policemen. It was doing exactly the same, controlling, for example, more black people than the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
So the system was sort of repeating the human pattern behavior, right?
Sure. So something that is also very important, we are using a lot of black boxes. This has been mentioned several times. For example, deep learning, you saw the input, the output. But how can you explain a decision? And this is crucial, for example, in transport.
Right.
There's something important in the air industry, is certification. Certification, every decision must be explained. So explainability of some black boxes is something
Right.
very important, because the people, or even with a car, autonomous cars, they want to understand why the car has taken this decision and kill somebody
Right.
instead of somebody else. I'm stopping there.
So we have two problems that have been identified: is a problem of control, a fear of control, and fear of the black box decision. How does AI, how does the machine take a decision?
So it's really explaining the decision and trust in the system.
Right, right. Please, Edward?
Thank you, Michel. So, just now it was emphasized pragmatic aspects of artificial intelligence, but my concern more relate to general concern, because artificial intelligence is or the point when we started to do machines,
Right.
which we name artificial intelligence. It started last century with construction of computer and algorithms, because that was the first mental our activity that was passed to the machines. And that was just a moment when, say, from planes, other automobile, and so, we took the control of our life to the machines. It was a first example. That is just the most important moment, that why we emphasize artificial. Why not automobile, not a plane, not other devices that we constructed, but artificial intelligence. The core is because we control passing to the machines, and it is expanding. And many examples give us that we're losing the control. That is what is a control? Control is the must say the core of human being. Its consciousness, its ability to recognize world, and so. We're passing to machines. And that's really a new point why we are so troubled.
Right.
And this problem cannot be considered isolated, because machines and humans are not easily isolated. You have to see all humankind. We are about 8 billion, and 8 billion people live on the world. And how to govern these people? Okay, that's a big problem. People thinking about that.
Right.
And artificial intelligence gives, and especially this internet networks and so, give new abilities to address to humans, to control big areas of
So it can
yeah,
scale
yeah.
up.
Now, actually, what is going on? You can see it with your children, say in your own environment, but your children all time looking in the gadget. It's not with you, it's out, and you don't know where is he. And one moment he's doing something unexpected. Okay, so the danger, one of danger I see in concentration, this power to govern the internet, to govern the ability to address to personal, each of us, keeping our data and manipulating us.
Right, right. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, well, what should I add actually to my speakers? Well, if I see concerns, for me it's equal to problems. And, well, by the way, so I did mention that I'm from United Institute of Informatics Problems, which is actually like post-Soviet heritage. Why not to say just computer science? But we always assume it like a
Focus on the problem.
Problems, as
Right.
we from Armenia. So it means that everything has problems, and including AI. And there are two issues actually. So there are engineering problems, can be, and ethical problems. As for engineers, well, so as ICT guys, we can address just only to let's say data problems. So more data we have, more data we will include, well, put into the black box. Better the network, if we're talking about network as AI, well, better AI, better network will be trained, and better results we will achieve.
Right.
So the most crucial thing is initial raw data for this, let's say, training sets for the final result. As for ethical problems, actually, so there is a huge amount, a field where we can talk a lot, for let's say one of the ethical problem is data which comes from medicine, for example, for medical issues. So it means that we need somehow to hide the personality when we use
so that
these
the person
data.
isn't identified.
Yes, but we can't assume, we can't actually process data as itself, because, you know, as doctor asking you, what is your history of diseases, where were you born, some natural and, well, local fields. It means that more personal data will be, it means more training, network training will be done well correctly. So it will use data which human physicians are using in their work.
Right.
So it's an ethical problem.
Right.
How to share this medical data is
Right.
another problem. There are a lot of other problems. If we say, today actually, we traveled by taxi to the venue, and the driver exactly know where to go, but he was directed by Yandex, by the digital map which was conducted by
Which
AI.
he should follow, as far
Yes,
as I
when
understand,
he-
in order to provide your
he know that
service.
he need to turn that way, but the Yandex said he need to turn that way. So the manipulating problem. It's another issue, and probably we'll discuss in this. others.
Right.
Talking about that, there's a funny thing in the story. The mobile companies that send a prediction about the traffic, right? We all know that. And it's very convenient because you know there's a traffic jam somewhere and you can avoid it. But do you know that most of the time these data are not anonymous?
Yeah.
So they are selling this data so that some guys are predicting the traffic and guiding you with a fast way, but the data are not anonymous. Somebody could know that you are in that place rather than being in your office.
Right. Very interesting.
So there are problems.
Agashi?
I agree with the opinions, and I want to add something that will explain the situation. Yes, what we are trying to solve. We are trying to make human life more comfortable, more reliable, and if AI or deep learning or something of machine learning can outperform or perform like human, it will be great success in concrete application. Yes, we are not trying to make a copy of human. We are trying to make the self-driving car. We are trying to make the robot that can separate the garbage and which can help to save world. Yes, we are trying to solve problems that will change the world.
Yeah. Oh, that's very
And
interesting.
the concerns, yes, there are many concerns. For example, reliability, and testability. We can't make sure that our system in edge case will not perform in edge cases some very bad mistakes. But humans sometimes making more ugly mistakes,
Yes.
and we must compare human with AI, not some algorithm with AI. Yes,
Right.
if we can solve the problem with deterministic algorithm, it will be good. It will be fine, but we currently can't.
They say it's safer to be flown by an autopilot than by a real pilot. So that's that's interesting. Is this true?
This reminds me, sorry for the guys I thought, the internal joke in Airbus. They say that the question is what's going to be the future, in the future, the team for driving aircraft. It's going to be a pilot and a dog.
A pilot and a dog.
Yeah, the pilot is to reassure the customer, and the dog is to beat the pilot if ever he thinks about doing something. So just...
Yes, very interesting. So a lot of concerns about control, concerns about ethical issues of being recognized as an individual, concerns about creating a cognition that could actually then feed back into the human lives. What are the opportunities? What should we be happy about? What should we be embracing with AI?
It depends on the approach, actually. So, of course, we already said about vehicles, unmanned vehicles, but it depends on the approach, really. If we just take an example of Tesla, unmanned Tesla, invented by Elon Musk, but you know, it was many occasions when Tesla just missed its road. Well, and example, a tree on this.
Right.
Well, what has happened? Well, disaster. And so here, it was a decision made by a team of Elon Musk. Actually, they put into the black box, well, let's say thousands of trees. So now car is okay, so car recognizes trees, so it will avoid trees on the road. So, but if it will be a column or something, it will go through the column. So it's like a brute force, you know. And the opportunity actually here really depends on the approach. What I'd like to
on the
say.
training approach
Yes,
of the black box, right?
So
okay.
if it will be like a brute force, what I'm really actually worried now. So there is a, well, you know, it's a ant for the AI. We need to find something sophisticated, some things which really will be like, you know, repeat a human behavior.
So, right. But isn't it, please,
no.
Please, Edward, yeah.
No. So can I continue?
Yes,
You
of
can,
course.
there. Just maybe it will sound not so expected, but I think artificial intelligence gave the opportunity to understand the human by itself.
Oh, very
Yeah,
interesting.
because just human, just it started to be in this universe always address. Who is he? Where is from? Who created him? And the difficulty is that we are all cell from one cell, and we are organization of cells, despite all we seem big and so. And these cells, a few hours or a few days, they die and new cell appears. So that's a mistaken how we in general see each other and live. And nobody can decode this mystery. And science says one cell is so complicated that it cannot appear just by chance in the universe. It has to be constructed.
Right.
And we even address to God and religious address, it's the question arises, but who created the God and so on? So artificial intelligence actually, one line of its reasoning and gives the opportunity or the explanation how cognitive systems can appear in universe without any, just as other material units, like molecules and so, but cognizing ability, not a human by itself, not a cell by itself, because they are complicated, but cognizing ability can appear in universe by common laws of physics.
Right.
And
cognizing, what do you mean by cognizing?
Cognizing means, it says two main, say, characteristics. First, learn the universe, and learning consists of two parts. One by experience, by discovering, and second by acquisition for community. Yes? And second, organization this knowledge. That is cognizing. Cognizing, as we in science we defined it.
Learn and organize.
Yeah, learn and organize. And this learning ability, in contrast with cell, which is a mystery, how it appears. Cognizing ability, starting from Schrödinger, who first, one of the creator of quantum mechanics. Schrödinger says that living systems distinguish from not living by they are negentropic. So all the world is entropic. Entropy is growing up. Only living one, they can gain energy from others and keep the organization. And recent studying, one of French professor, he just proved that really negentropics can appear in nature. So it follows that despite we cannot explain how the cell appears, but we can imagine that cognizing system can appear in nature and they can rise very high level.
So artificial intelligence helps us
Artificial
understand
intelligence
these
gives the
processes.
attempt to model this process.
Right.
Artificial, yeah. And eventually, if it will be successful, it means that we can come to higher level. And this
Right.
higher level, why? It can create a cell.
Right. Please,
So sorry.
So
Michel.
returning back, this is a very good point because on both sides, if we want to do some very good learning at the moment, we need very large amount of data of high quality. And while ourselves, we learn very few information.
With a very little.
Most of the time, very small amount of information. Most of the time, we learn in a bad way, but we do that. And it's first, maybe one of the first challenge for AI researcher is to say how can we train some computers to learn from very small amount of data. That's something unbelievable. And some of the specialists of AI, they claim, well, no way. That's going to be always a difference between computer and human. And this is why also, because for learning you need a high amount of data, this raises a lot of questions related to ethics, not only in the medical area, but social networks or whatever. And this is, as a last point, why the three main points of the National Initiative of AI in France are research, opening the data, and societal and ethics challenges.
Right. Yeah, I got you, please.
I have a question for you. How many data the child get from the date of born? When he born, he getting data from his eyes, ears, yes, and the data is not countable, yes, the amount of data. In my opinion, it is impossible to train something with less data. It must get more and more data for training, like a human.
Yeah,
So
but
you can't have a
kid-
limited. You can't have a limited amount of data. You always need more and more data in order to learn.
Yes, of course. Like a human, to recognize the faces, spending. For example, my kid differentiating the faces very hard, and will spend 1 or 2 years for learning to recognize the faces, yes? To completely recognize the faces, and the amount of data that is not countable.
Yeah, but maybe if your kid is going to a fire, he's going to go 1 or twice, and after he has understood, never more. Maybe we can train a computer so that the behavior is the same. I don't know.
Right.
I cannot answer.
That's an interesting question. You know, how much data does AI need to in order to learn? But then, how much data does the child get when he or she learns?
I understood the question. We are genomically and communicatively, and both and genomes and culture we get from communities.
Right.
Okay, the question is how much we get from genomes, how much from cultures.
Yes.
So there's an answer for that. I asked one of the bright biologists about this data. She says that 99% we get genomically what we are.
99%.
99%. And 99% all people all over the world, in 99% by their genomes, they are coinciding. 99%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little illusion that this black one genome, because genome is a very, very long. It can be a few times go around the world, okay?
Right.
Each of genome. And that is actually answer. So we're getting the main information genomically, but culture adding, that is the next important thing. And only point one we gain by ourselves during life, if we are happy, if we are lucky. If we are lucky, okay? So
Already knowledge.
yeah,
Already knowledge.
yeah, if we are lucky.
So very
Nobel,
interesting.
we get Nobel Prize if we add something to the knowledge of community.
So,
Oh,
Can you explain from what you receive such digit 99%?
You see, I look many sources because they're waving. Each of them says that. But this data I asked about from a doctor of sciences in molecular biology, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but that is her data. I know that there's, say, different opinions, but one of them, I believe, from other sources too, that for me too.
that's
No,
the
for
purpose
me
of the
too.
panel,
For me
to
too,
instill
but-
emotion.
Yeah, for me too, because all of us live in culture. We believe that culture form us, but in frame we are just. If we take ants, just from the as it was born, it becomes ants. Yes, it doesn't need a culture and anything. Actually, it's starting. It is a member of its community and it's acting. But human becomes a human when passing 20 years of learning and so. But child, when it's born, already we recognize as a human, okay? And that human has many abilities, okay? So really, for me, it's a shock as well, but I am forced to believe that.
I would like us to return to the issue of artificial intelligence, and here is an interesting opinion about opportunities. So to sum it up, there are opportunities actually to understand humankind, right?
Yeah,
that's a very interesting point of view.
Because philosophers try to explain, psychologists, all of, say, scientists, because that is the issue of issues. Okay?
Right.
But artificial, say, the core or line of artificial, it's not only saying, it's constructing. It's constructing. If I construct a system which will recognize at least at least comparable with human.
Right.
And there's we have success. Algorithm doing much better than human is doing.
But that leads us to sort of to the next question, and that's the question of we as creators of the artificial intelligent intelligent systems. Where does our responsibility lie, or are we responsible for what we're creating, and could we be even accountable for systems that we are creating?
yeah, that's clear that researchers and engineers that are engineering people that are developing systems should, from the very beginning of the conception, really deal with these ethical questions. It's fundamental. Ethics has to be in the middle of the story from the very beginning. This is why, for example, again the French AI program, they propose to create some specific training for the students. They want to double the amount of students in AI, and to create some training on ethics, so that the people be aware of that and incorporate that in the design of that software. And it's crucial if you want that the people accept AI. Acceptability is something very important. So people involved in social science also has to be in the loop. But accepting some AI in the society when you have some system taking decision, that means that at some point there has to be transparent. The decision has to be explainable, and the citizen should have some trust. Well, if you see the trust of the citizen for politicians or whatever, there's quite a lot of work to be done.
Well, and distrust, I guess, comes from not knowing, from the void of information, right? We don't trust something that we don't know, hence we always look at it with a bit of...
People consider, and they are right, that the algorithms are not transparent. So the decision, they say, well, they are not transparent. We don't understand. On which basis did you take a decision? And it's normal.
Right.
I can strengthen this
Are we
idea.
accountable or responsible?
Actually, of course, we need to be responsible, and if we once a day, so we will rely on AI. We need to think that someone want to attack it also, and we need to be responsible not only for data but to the result of AI of this engine, let's say, platform. Since just an example, it's a adversarial attack, so it's special attacks to the network, where when just a small part of the network of the training set will be changed by some bad guy,
Right.
and then the result will be completely different.
Right.
So it will lead to misclassification. So by human eyes, for example, these images will be the same. Well, I will address to the medical issues. So we have two images. One is a good one, and another is a diseased image. Yeah, some cytology or histology problems. And if an adversarial attack mechanism give a possibility to change this image and to train the set exactly with the wrong result. So a physician will never distinguish this image as bad or good, but the network will distinguish as wrong.
Right.
So it means that we shouldn't give up to artificial intelligence agent these rights.
This independent
Yeah,
agency.
yes, exactly. To decide what good or bad.
Right.
So, returning back to you, for example, you're involved in deep neural network. I saw some example of images well recognized by a neural network, and the people, they did only change a few pixels,
Yeah.
10 pixels, and the system is not recognizing anything.
That's it.
Right.
So
I agree. That are illusions for neural network.
Yeah.
Yes, like humans have illusions. There are many illusions. Yes, human brain can differentiate some
Right,
illusions, and that is illusion for AI. There are computed some.
So they can
with-
be sick as well,
yes.
unwell.
The illusions are computed by mathematical functions, and it's. I think it's okay for that. We must make AI better, but we can't avoid from illusions. Yes.
Mistakes.
I think that trust also is a kind of illusion, because I have a stupid example that is so funny. You trust your refrigerator at home, right? Some refrigerators are communicating refrigerator. They are connected, right? So 2 years ago, we saw the first attack of a refrigerator, and the personal network of the guy was attacked
By
through
the
the refrigerator, because there's no protection. They are putting some small communicating systems in the refrigerator, in the oven, whatever, and you can be attacked because there's no protection. So
Very interesting.
It's the feeling to be attacked by a refrigerator.
This is a very interesting conversation. I'm really a little bit aware of time, and I would like the audience has a few questions. So I see a hand. Alfonso, can we have a mic, please? Can we have a mic?
Okay.
Can we have? Yes.
Thank you. So I've been in several panels, in this side of several panels on AI, and I think that this one is one of the most interesting that I've been to. So thank you very much for the lively discussion and the different points of view. And I really wanted to actually pinpoint something that was said, and this is about what we are comparing AI with or to. And I think the point is very good. So historically, humans have had problems with decision making for difficult problems.
For difficult problems.
For difficult problems. So how to decide on something. So you go to oracles in the ancient Greece, for instance, or even ancient Egypt. So we're talking about 5,000, 6,000 years ago. What AI is doing is facilitating our decision making. So we have to compare it with the humans, like Agassi said. So we have to compare with humans and not with 100% God-like entity. So if we are better than humans, as humans, because we have a decision-making tool to help us, that's much better. That will lead us, that will save us time to address complex, important issues why we're here, so the philosophical questions, but also climate change.
Right.
So these are the things that we should aim at, is to have tools that can be used for good or for bad. Think of a knife, for instance. Knife is a very useful tool, but it's also a mortal weapon. So I think that this is what I take from this panel, and I think it's very interesting. So thank you very much. I don't have a clear question now, but I just wanted to say thanks.
But maybe somebody would like to follow up on this, please?
Really, it's a good that we pass our decision making partly as much as we can to computers, but just address to human nature what we are. Actually, I address again to physicists. Say Schrödinger, he says that living, that's negentropic. So negentropicity means that we gain energy from others, all times catch from others, destroying them, and take energy from us. And that is doing one cell, two cells, animals, and human. Can you name some human organization, historically, even bright minds, Christos, Jesus, and some, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and others who try, Marx, who try to create human community which will be harmonic and could live together also. It is impossible in the nature because all of us are constructed in the way to gain energy, to be the first, to be in hierarchy the first. Otherwise, our nature will be destroyed. And we doing decisions very dependent from this, our initial
point of nature.
And when we pass to machine is a very alien system. It can do, we cannot pass this, our core, to the machines. That is the dangerous. It can make decisions which will be rationally correct, but from human and cellular point of view will be damaging. Okay,
right.
My opinion is this.
Thank you. Are there any other points? Here is a hand, please.
There's one more issue that I'm worried about. Many centuries, mathematics was trying to solve many problems, and the AI comes to help in the situations when mathematics is not successful. But today we face a situation when many companies need specialists in AI, and young people are going to this field. Mathematics is not attractive anymore, and these young people do not need to learn mathematics, to know mathematics. And I'm afraid that one day we shall face a situation when we shall not have any more mathematicians, specialists, and this is dangerous, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So? We have two opinions.
Yeah. Partly yes, but what we call artificial intelligence now is not what was called artificial intelligence in the middle of the 80s. Okay, and at least in France, what people are calling artificial intelligence is involving a lot of mathematics. The basis of the National Initiative for AI in France was written by Cédric Villani, who is a field medal. So there's a lot of mathematics. And young mathematicians are recruited. In my school of engineer in Toulouse, 15 years ago, people in the bank, they started recruiting mathematicians for financial mathematics. So we saw plenty of people interested by mathematics rather than computer science because we are delivering a diploma that is both mathematics and computer science. So I'm not so anxious. Because mathematics have a very important role to play in the story, but there are some artificial intelligence techniques that are quite typical of computer science. I don't know.
I completely agree with you. I want to say same thing.
Right. So we shouldn't be the opinions that we shouldn't be worried. But I think there's so much that discussion could continue, and we've just started the Pandora's box, sort of opened the Pandora's box, but unfortunately our time is up. So I would like to thank the panelists for sharing their views, and I would like to thank the audience for staying with us and asking questions. So thanks to everybody.